The stars looked different. Captain Reese Calder had spent most of his life among them, memorizing constellations the way poets memorize verses. But now they were strangers. The stasis pod hissed open with a groan that echoed through the ruined corridors of the Resolute. Metal creaked. Frost drifted from the chamber like mist from a grave. Reese coughed hard, lungs screaming for air that tasted of dust and centuries. He blinked at the control panel beside him. The numbers were burned into cracked glass, faint but legible. Reactivation time, 300 years, 16 days. He almost laughed. That's not possible, he muttered, but the silence didn't argue. Reese staggered to his feet, body trembling from the long sleep. Around him, the ship was a tomb. Rust clung to the walls. The lights flickered weakly, and the insignia of the Terran vanguard, his fleet, his family, had faded to a smear of gray. "Computer," he croaked. "Status report." No response. Only static. He stumbled toward the command deck, one hand dragging along the wall for balance. The old ship moaned in protest under his steps. When the doors finally opened, the sight outside stopped him cold. Stars, endless and unrecognizable. The nebula that once marked the edge of Terran space was gone. Entire constellations had shifted. Time had erased the sky he knew. And yet, the distress beacon was still active. He leaned over the console, reactivating the comms. After a burst of static, a voice cut through, faint, trembling, and human. "This is Commander Lyra of the United Systems. Any Vanguard units, please respond. We're under attack. The Dominion has returned." Reese froze. The Dominion, the same enemy that had wiped out half the fleet 3 centuries ago. The war that had ended with his ship crashing into an uncharted world. 300 years, and it was happening again. He took a shaky breath. "This is Captain Reese Calder, Terran Vanguard, reporting from the Resolute. Transmission received." A pause. Then, "Captain Calder? You can't be real. You died 300 years ago." "Then consider this a miracle," he said, a faint smile on his cracked lips. "Send me coordinates. I'm coming to help." The Resolute wasn't what she once was. Her hull was scarred, engines half frozen, but her heart, her core reactor, still burned faintly. Reese rerouted every surviving system manually. He worked until his hands bled, whispering to ship like an old friend. "Just one more mission, girl," he murmured. "That's all I need." When the engines roared to life, the sound filled the void like thunder after centuries of silence. The ship lurched free of the planet's gravity and climbed toward the stars once more. He followed the beacon. What he found was hell. A human colony burned beneath an alien sky. Dominion warships, sleek, obsidian, pulsing with cruel red light, hung above the planet, raining fire. Human defense platforms fell like sparks from a dying flame. Reese gritted his teeth. Not this time. He opened a comm line. "Unknown human vessel, identify!" barked a panicked voice. "Name's Resolute," Reese said calmly. "Vanguard class. Returning to service." There was a pause. "That ship's from the old wars. That's impossible." "Impossible's my specialty." He armed the rail cannons, praying the ancient systems would obey. The ship shuddered as the guns came online, heat surging through the deck. Then he fired. The first shot tore through a Dominion cruiser, like a spear through glass. The second split another in half. Below, the ground troops looked up in disbelief as a long-forgotten warship, older than their grandfathers, descended from the clouds like a ghost. Reese piloted manually, ignoring the alarm screaming in his ears. Every bolt of plasma that hit his hull sent sparks through the cabin, but he didn't care. He was alive again, and the enemy was in front of him. When the last Dominion frigate broke formation and fled, the surviving humans erupted in cheers. Reese landed what was left of the Resolute near the colony outpost. Soldiers gathered, staring as the ramp hissed open. He stepped out in scorched armor, the Vanguard insignia still gleaming faintly on his chest plate. A young lieutenant approached, awe in her eyes. "Sir, are you really Captain Calder?" He nodded once. "They say your fleet disappeared before my great-grandfather was born. Guess someone forgot to turn me off properly," he said with a tired smile. Her expression faltered. Sir, the Dominion didn't return. They never left. We've been fighting them in the shadows for centuries. Reese frowned. Centuries? Then what have we been doing all this time? Surviving, she said softly. But we've forgotten how to win. He looked toward the horizon, where the alien wreckage still burned. Then let's remind them. Days turned into weeks. Reese trained their soldiers, teaching them what humanity used to be, what the Vanguard had stood for: honor, unity, defiance. They listened like disciples to a prophet. To them, he was a relic of a purer age, one where humanity hadn't been afraid. And for a time it worked. The Dominion pushed back. Colonies began to hope again. But every victory carried a cost. Reese's body, centuries out of sync with the world, was failing. His stasis cell had preserved him, but not perfectly. The old wounds returned, his lungs scarred, his bones weakened. Each breath came harder than the last. Still, he refused to stop. A soldier doesn't rest, he told Lyra when she confronted him. Not while the enemy breathes. You're dying, she said. Then I'll die doing what I was born for. She stepped closer, voice breaking. You don't belong here, Captain. You've done enough. He smiled faintly. That's where you're wrong. I finally do belong. You're the future we fought for. The final battle came at dawn. The Dominion fleet arrived in force. Hundreds of ships blotting out the sun. The humans scrambled, desperate. But Reese was already aboard the Resolute. Half her systems were fried. She couldn't fly far. But she didn't need to. He broadcast one last transmission to every human ship. This is Captain Reese Calder, Terran Vanguard. 300 years ago, I fought this war. I lost everything. I won't lose again. You're not soldiers of the past. You're humanity's answer to extinction. So fight like it. The fleet roared in reply. Reese steered the Resolute directly toward the Dominion flagship. The ship's alarm screamed, warning him the core was overloading. Perfect. He looked at the old photo taped to his console. A crew long dead. Faces smiling in another lifetime. Looks like we're going home, boys. The Resolute's engines blazed brighter than the sun. He rammed the flagship head-on. The explosion was visible from orbit, an expanding halo of white fire that consumed the Dominion fleet in its wake. When the light faded, the sky was empty. The war was over. Weeks later, when the smoke cleared and humanity began to rebuild, they found what was left of the Resolute's hull on the colony's surface. Inside, scorched but intact, was the captain's insignia, its edges still warm. They built a monument there and carved 4 words beneath his name. He came from the past to save the future. And in the centuries that followed, when humanity reached further into the stars than ever before, every ship in the new fleet bore his name, Vanguard-class Resolute. Because heroes might fade, legends might sleep, but humanity remembers. Always. Closing line, emotional punch. He slept for 3 centuries. But when he awoke, humanity's fire still burned in him, and through him, it burned brighter than ever before.